BDSM and non-standard relationships,
Star exchange and polyamory,
sacred sexuality and fetishes, as well as simply fun kink.
You'll find shows on these topics and more at eroticawakeningpodcast.com.
Hello, all you skebbies. This is Great Answer, and I'm coming to you from the wilds outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Naya and I are on our second stop in our month-long rope nomadic journey. We got to spend some wonderful time at the Rope Lab in Columbus, where we attended Lizard and Murphy's intensive. Saw some amazing performances. Now, I don't mean disrespect to Murphy. I always expect that I will be blown away by his and Diamond's performances. So I was expecting that. What I was not expecting was how much I was blown away by Lizard. And I'm a big fan of Lizard already. But Lizard and Groundbird did what is in easily the top 5 performances I have ever seen at this event. I'm not going to go into too much about how they did it because I couldn't do it justice. But it was amazing, and I know I'm making her blush by talking this much about it. So I'm going to stop because I don't want to make her uncomfortable. But between that and attending her intensive, which you agree that was a pretty good intensive?
It was amazing.
And we highly recommend Lizard. Or, where you can always see Lizard is you can come to ropecraft.net, and it's a good time to buy your tickets because on September 17th, the ticket prices go up to their late purchase price. So now is the time to get your tickets. And if you are going, you might want to take a look at your chance of getting some private lessons and also doing some good. We have private lessons available from several of our presenters and even some people that are just attending. The proceeds from that will go directly towards flood relief for people in the kink community, especially in the Baton Rouge area, but who have been affected by the flooding that has so devastated things down there. So we've already sold 7 of those lessons, so they are going, and I suggest that you get yours fast. But first, you have to register. Go to ropecraft.net.
Do it.
This podcast is, of course, brought to you by my sponsors, Karma Rope. KarmaRope.com, where you can find pay-what-you-can pricing for some really good jute or really good hemp rope that they will pull right off the spool as much or as little as you want. You can even buy it by the spool if you want. And they will get it to you. And it's a great way to get raw rope that's not conditioned. Sometimes people have like skin conditions where they don't want to have certain dyes or oils and they want to do it themselves. Or I always think it's a great idea for like rope bite groups to have loaner rope, especially when people aren't sure if they want to make the switch to organic rope. Believe me, you want to do it with cheap rope first because I promise you will want to buy more expensive rope after you use organic rope. Well, not everybody. I know some people, Danorama, I'm looking at you, who would disagree. But yeah, I can tell you that when I first made the switch from nylon, which my partners loved my nylon, and then I put organic rope on them, and they said, never tie me with that nylon stuff again. Oh, you only want this rope. And in case you're wondering, that rope, Karma Rope, wasn't around back then. This is back in the early days, so we had the original rope vendor. Well, he's not the original, but he's probably one of definitely one of the seminal rope vendors. And that is, of course, Twisted Monk. He's also our other sponsor. Rather than tell you all about how good his rope is, though, I'm going to walk you through how to get the next piece of gear that you need to get. So I'm going to click through because there's not a really easy URL. I could read the whole URL, on the podcast, but there wouldn't be a really easy way for me to do that. So instead, I'm going to walk you through. First of all, take your browser, go to twistedmonk.com. Okay, and on the front page, they have divided into lots of different categories. You want to go to their products, okay? So you want to go to their products. Oh, look at that. See, I was already going through it, and so it's a little bit different. Okay, so we go. You have the most trusted name in bondage rope, accept no imitations. And listen to the interview with him to find out what exactly that means. Then you want to go down to the middle column where it says Shop Now. Okay, there's a little picture of a bag, and Midori's book is in there. And then you go down to Shop by Category, and you have to go down past the a la carte rope, which is, great rope that they have available, past the limited edition and gifts, which I don't know if they still have their daddy kits in there, but that would be a neat thing. And you go past to the Monk Sack collection, and then you go to the right, and you go over to where it says Upgrades and Accessories. It's got a pair of shears, and you click on that, and then you get an Upgrades and Accessories, and you got a lot of stuff in there. You got a rope care pack, you got a sample pack, gift wrapping service, split colors, special safety shears, but you want to get the very first thing, the Gear Slinger. It even has a nice little new icon on it. Now, it's only $19.99. And I will tell you, I have a prototype of this. I have used it well more than I would have expected him to be selling this for closer to $40 or something, and I still would be happy to pay it. It is made to carry carabiners. It has a space for carrying your safety shears. It clips easily on a belt or hangs on something. It's got, I don't know if is it actually made out of leather? Yeah, it can go in bag. Faux leather. Good. I was hoping so. So here's the reason you want faux leather instead of real leather, because we often get sweaty when we are doing that. This is the same reason my LD West shoulder holster is made out of faux leather. Okay. It also has crimson webbing. Crimson wedding. That was from Game of Thrones. You can also tuck rope into the loops. It's a no-brainer. It is fantastic to have. It looks good. It works well. I can tell you we have been using it for over a month now.
Yeah.
So, now is the time you should go get that. And we're actually trying to work out a deal where maybe, just maybe, there might be a Ropecraft limited edition. But I'm not going to make any promises. I'm just saying it would be nice if that happened. So, in the meantime, thank you, Monk, for sponsoring the podcast. Only other thing I want to talk about real quick is that we are out here in the wilds outside of Pittsburgh because we are taking a little breather before we head out to Dark Odyssey Summer Camp. And if you have been on FetLife at all, you know that there's been some consent issues and things like that brought up at Dark Odyssey. And that's actually part of why we're going out there. They asked us to come and be part of their interim consent liaison group. They wanted to get some people in place while they work out a more permanent solution for their organization. And we're working with Chris Marks, who has also got a consent response facilitator program that he's been working on. And as you may have heard me talk about before, I've been using a thing called Rashomon, named after the Rashomon effect, which is the idea that there are multiple perspectives for any given situation. Unfortunately, the Rashomon effect, the name, that is a principle. It's like saying if something is a Pavlovian response or a Kafkaesque novel or something like that. It's not even cultural appropriation, but it does, unfortunately, reference a movie that it tends to get more confused with when people talk about this consent model. And I'm finding that it is getting in the way of the work to talk about the name a lot. So I will, in the future, be referring to this as the Incident Response Team, specifically for Ropecraft. We will be continuing to develop the program. All the things that I've been talking with Rashomon are exactly the same. It's just not using the word Rashomon on that. And I want to thank all of the people who have helped me gather the information you need to come to that decision, especially a huge shout out to Parker, who is a very good friend and one of the most amazing people I know for many, many reasons. So If you find a place where it says Rashomon still, let me know, because I'll be trying to change all of those. In the meantime, we are still working on the incident response team. I'll still be offering trainings in that. And if you want to know more about that, please feel free to give me a call. Ben Hart, I'm looking at you. I know I need to get back to you on that. So let's see. Do anything else? Oh, yeah. My Patreon is blowing up. Not in terms of people signing up for it, although I have had a couple more. Thank you for signing up. If you go to patreon.com/ropecast, you will get to hear things. You get to see where you can sign up for $1 or more. You definitely get some bonuses, and I have sort of finally hit my stride in terms of getting sketch notes put up there. And thank you, Evie McNaughty, for pointing out that I should put it in context in there. As soon as this podcast is done, they are actually going to get a special preview of the next week's podcast. So if you want double your pleasure, you can get that. I will also offer soon, going to consider offering podcasts commercial free on the Patreon feed only. But we'll see about that. You have to tell me if you think that would be worth it. And one way to tell me that would be to sign up on Patreon and say I signed up here because I want to have commercial-free podcasts. So patreon.com/ropecast. If you've gone there before and thought, oh, this isn't worth it, I think you would like it. So now it's time for our interview. We are doing an interview with somebody who is beloved of the rope community because she helped create a event that we all miss so much called Rope Camp. And I will not go further into that, but I will welcome Kat to the podcast, and I hope you enjoy the interview almost as much as I enjoyed doing it. Through the magic of Skype, I am able to speak with other people who are not only across the country, but they are in different time zones. And so I will welcome to the podcast my friend Kat from Turtle Hill Events.
Hi, Greg.
Hi. It's great to have you. I think you've been on briefly once or twice on this podcast, but it's been a while.
I have. I think we talked about my event, Rope Camp, once upon a time.
Rope Camp. You know, my vest, my leather vest, has the Rope Camp patch right up between my shoulders, prominent.
It is the most lamented event, I think, of my history. We miss it so much.
And so many unforgettable things, like the Keystone Riggers little debacle that happened when Lokai ran his competitive rigging thing.
Yes, and also the 2 watermelons and a tarp scene. But I think I'm going to make
2 watermelons and a tarp.
I think I'm going to make people actually come find me in order to hear that story.
Yeah, that's a good one. You know, actually, I should tell you something else about that event that was kind of funny. You know the little sort of bondage frame that's kind of on the hill, and it's called, I think it's actually a shrine to Aphrodite.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. So Naya and I at that event at Rope Camp, we didn't really have many chances to do any real scenes and stuff like that, just because of my back and stuff like that. But for whatever reason, we were walking down the hill in the night. We're like, hey, you know what? There's a temple there. No, we didn't say it. We said there's a frame. Let's quick do an inversion. And so we did inversion, and we had a hot and sexy scene and whatever. And then later on, we found out that it was a temple to Aphrodite, and love, was the theme there, and we were pretty much doomed after that. So, so you need to put up warning signs, doing these kinds of things.
Find your way to the adventure that you need.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Before we talk about other things, I do want to say that we are making another foray into the world of rope events next year. We're going to, in August of next year, almost exactly a year from now, we're going to do an event which we're calling Tether and Tie.
Yes, Tether and Tie.
And we're really looking forward to that. We're bringing Saki Kamiju in from Japan.
Woo-hoo!
So excited to have her there, and lots of other great folks, including you.
I was going to say, and you'll have me there too, yes.
Very excited about that. So,
excellent. Will that also be at Ramblewood?
Sadly, no. It's going to be in a hotel. A lot of the feedback that we got from Rope Camp from people who refused to attend rope camp was that they would prefer to attend hotel events. So this is in a hotel, but it's in a very kink-friendly hotel. In New Jersey, it's sort of a famous hotel for that.
Yes, that one.
The Radisson Piscataway, which is the site of many, well, not many, but several kink events. So
yes,
it's a good hotel to use, and we're doing a hotel takeover, so we won't have to
beautiful.
worry. We won't have to worry about the vanilla people being annoyed by us.
Yeah, I am very excited about that, and that's, you know, given that I also do rope events, you'd think I'd be like, no, wait, you can't mention that, but I feel like a rising tide lifts all boats.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, the reason why we decided to do this event was we were approached by Murphy and Lord Percival about doing an event in the East because you guys aren't at this point. So
true enough.
We could have an event at a different time of year than you're doing yours in our region,
which I think is a brilliant thing, and I'm looking forward to hearing more about that. But let's talk about different presenters that are going to be at the crossroads, like Lord Percival and Murphy.
Never heard of them. Who?
Well, Murphy is this rising, up and coming guy. Yeah, he's going to get, I think, his big break pretty soon out in Columbus at Rope Lab when he gets to perform or teach alongside Lizard. So I think that really there's some good things coming from him, especially when he's, you know, starting to be accepted by established presenters and great educators like Lizard.
He's just starting out, yeah.
Yes. But anyway, I'm just laughing. I'm excited that event is coming up here in a little bit. But right after that, or not right after that, but shortly after that, Naya and I are looking forward to coming down to the Crossroads. Now, tell me about why the subtitle of Crossroads is Where the Sacred and Profane Meet. Oh, in case listeners are right now going, but Gray, where is it and when is it? It is September 15th through 18th in Darlington, Maryland. So mid-September, which is a beautiful time of year in that area.
Perfect. It's perfect.
And
hot days, cool nights.
Yep.
Pool will still be open.
Yes.
On the site, it'll be great.
And so, where the sacred and profane meet. What did you mean by that?
What we're doing is an event. Now, this is a first-year event, so I'm going to give it a little bit of a caveat here. One of the ways in which I design my events is I get an idea for a cool thing that I'd like to do, and then I get a site for it and invite a bunch of people and start to look at how that's going to fall out. And I don't plan every aspect of my event down to every minute. Instead, I allow the event to come together. So I'm going to tell you what the concept was originally and caveat that the event will become what it needs to become for the people who are there.
Oh, what a great way to put it. I
I'm
should stand up for the grooves.
You should. So, because that's even more so. But anyway, what we intended was to do, because we have another event that we've been doing for, I think it's 14 years now. That's THE Beltane, and that event is in the beginning of May every year at the same site in Darlington. And that event is sort of it's a sacred sexuality event. So it's not really a kink event, though we do have a dungeon space there and we do have a large kink population that attends, and it's totally kink friendly. That's not our focus. So what we decided to do with this event was to make it our focus. So what we wanted to do was to make an event that was Beltane's kinkier sibling. That was our concept. So we wanted to explore the darker side of sacred sexuality, to really allow the amount of bondage-related programming, kink-related programming, to rise higher than we allow it to at Beltane. So it's more than half of the event. At Crossroads, at Beltane, it would be less than a third. So it's more than half, maybe more than 2/3 at Crossroads.
So are a lot of the presenters, are you drawing from a lot of the presenters at Beltane?
Some of the presenters that present at Beltane will be at Crossroads. For example, Beth and Preston, who do some massage programming, sexual massage and sensual massage, and they talk about poly, and they also talk about relationship issues. but they have a crossover into mild BDSM. They do a sensation plate class, for example. Christine LaPlante will be there, who's a longtime Beltane presenter. IP Cookie Monster, who does our rituals in recent years, will be there.
Yeah, she did the rope temple at Ropecraft in Austin, and
She's going to create a rope temple
really
for
nice.
us as well. It'll
I
be
see that.
in the barn, which will be really great. Looking forward to that.
That was really well received at Ropecraft, so that's going to be popular, I'm sure.
And Lord Percival too, who's always at Beltane as well. I kind of have an unofficial rule that I'm not going to do an event without him.
I could see that being a useful rule to have.
Yeah, he's great.
When we got his list of classes available for Ropecraft, we were like, "Oh my God!" I mean, you could basically have Lord Percival Con. Aside from the fact, and I would say he would get too tired, but this is Percy, and he just kind of keeps going. He's like an Energizer bunny.
I don't think he gets tired.
Yeah, just has to replace the plutonian rods. I won't say where he puts them, but I also have to thank you. You asked me to teach my, among other things, the woo woo what the fuck class.
Yes.
And that one, I actually just 2 weeks ago had someone come up and say, I took that class 2 years ago, and it was seminal in helping her be able to talk with someone that she had ended up playing with and having a relationship with. So that the idea of bridging that gap between the skeptical and the woo seems to really be resonating.
I and not to get you to teach your whole class or even part of it here, but I think that talking about woo and the word sacred is an important thing for us to talk about when we think about events like Crossroads and also Beltane, because they are. To some people in the scene, the word woo is like, I don't want to deal with that, and to others it's totally awesome. But I think to most people it's sort of mysterious. What does that mean? So in terms of how we approach the word, we are looking for classes. When we look for classes that are sacred, that have sacred content, which the vast majority of our classes do.
What does the word sacred mean to you in this context?
Sacred in the context of sexuality and kink, to me, means that it's about connection between the people. It's about the energy between two people. You understand what I mean? When the way in which I just saw a great video of Conan O'Brien interviewing a famous actor, Sir Patrick Stewart, and Patrick Stewart kissed him on the lips in this interview, and because he was Conan was hassling him about a famous photo of him kissing Ian McKellen on the lips. So he went and gave Conan a kiss, and afterwards he said, did you feel something? What did you feel? Because it's about what you feel when you connect with somebody. Do you feel a connection? Do you feel something with the other person? I've seen a lot of kink scenes that were extremely heavily spiritual, where nothing about religion or magic or whatever was even mentioned, but they were heavily spiritual. I've done many scenes that were like that. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah, and sometimes inadvertently. Yeah. I mean, I will mention one part of my class, and it's when we talk about energy, people are like, oh, energy, what are you talking about? That's just energy translates for me as focused attention. And it has been, we have neuroscientific proof, or at least indications, that you are able to feel focused attention, and it feels different than unfocused attention. So to me, there's definitely an easy way to have a scientific background to that. So that definitely the idea of energy, which is also part of the thing, and I'm kind of laughing at IP Cookie Monster. I have this ongoing thing of she will sometimes say, if I never hear of another connective rope class again, it'll be too soon. And I'm like, so what? You want to have like unconnected rope? Because it's a pendulum swing behind people who are being too technical, And now, people are talking about the idea of the rigger sniff and being this ridiculous thing. And I find that unfortunate because it kind of feels like a yucking the yum. I mean, it's fine if that's not what you want to do. And I don't think anybody's requiring Cookie Monster to go to the connective rope classes. But people who have it.
She's doing the rope temple.
I know. That's the thing is I'm can't wait to go to the rope temple and not have connection, which and I'm totally I'm totally giving her shit when she's not here to give me shit back, but I'm sure she will make up for it. But
I hope so.
We definitely have fun with that.
Yes.
Yeah. The other place that you want to talk about connection. This is relation to the other. Not that I want to make it all about me, but you give me a chance to teach some classes that I don't get to normally teach. And so I'm really excited about this. You get me to debut a brand new class, which has the title is a bit of a nod to Laura Antoniou, who wrote the book The Killer Wore Leather.
Uh-huh.
And the title of the class is The Rigger Wore Chaps. And it's about rope and leather and DS, because I was 100% rope person. I thought those pretentious leather folk were just, full of themselves. And then Rita Seagrave in a class, while she was tied up and hogtied on the floor, put her face forward about 2 inches and kissed my boot. And it just sent this zing through my entire body.
Isn't it wonderful?
Yeah, and it was also puzzling. I'm like, whoa, wait, what is the And I mean, and that has led to loving boot blacking and loving all kinds of things leather. And Naya and I have our relationship of service and serva and dominus based around the leather model. And just a couple days ago at the GRU, there was a fantastic presenter named Corey, who's a boot black. And at the play party, Corey did a leather scene with another person named Yoshi, who was big into rope, but was getting a vest blacked by Corey. And I don't know, have you ever seen, like maybe at IMSL or something like that, someone giving a really, really thorough blacking to a vest that is being worn by someone?
Yeah, it's amazing.
I mean, it is amazing, and it is hot as
it's
fuck.
almost massage too.
Yeah, well, yeah, or it's it's both a massage and a caring, and also sometimes it's a violent, I am taking you kind of thing. It was just fantastic, and I loved that at a putatively rope event we're seeing leather get in there.
Yeah, that's fun.
And I really can't wait to be explaining that because there's so many things that are similar to that. I also am really grateful. It's kind of funny. One of the other classes you have me teaching is the dominant body.
Yeah.
And that is sort of my answer to the fact that there were so many stretching for bottoms and yoga for bottoms and Pilates for bottoms and all these different, you name it. There's a as if tops don't need to take care of their bodies and things like that.
Well,
and,
tops, they spring full born from the skulls.
Of course.
Bottoms. They're just magically already there.
well, here's my similar question for you. There's also the stereotype of what does your top look like? Oh, he's the guy in the black T-shirt and jeans and leather boots.
Yes.
So my question for you, what do you like to see tops in? Or what? Actually, you know what? I don't know what your particular flavor is. If you are a top, bottom, or switch.
Switch.
So what do you wear? Can you hang on 1 second?
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought I had to go get the door, but I don't. There's that ambiance. We'll make sure we edit out the part where Naya walks in with my great present that she's so grateful for.
That's okay. Jason just walked in too, but the dogs didn't bark at him.
Right. She's incredibly grateful because she's the perfect serva. And what did I get you, serva?
An iron. A professional iron.
I got her an iron. So she can iron my leathers. No.
How nice.
Anyway, sorry for the digression. So, what do you like to see a top or bottom wear?
Well, that's a very intimate question.
Well, true. Well, let's get out of intimacy. Let's say you are going into a dungeon, and you look across the dungeon and you see a top, and your thought is, "Wow, that top has a great outfit on." And just for the sake of things, we're going to say this is a masculine-bodied top.
Okay.
What is that top wearing that you would say, "Wow, that's a really looks great"?
Oh man, I just really like the leather. I like the leather pants and the. I have a thing for poofy white shirts. Are you making your packing list for Crossroads?
Classic, huh? I don't think I have any poofy white shirts left, I'm
I
afraid.
can bring you one.
Oh, really?
And now I'm flirting. I'm sorry.
I do have a halfie, though. I can wear that.
I like the vest too, the leather vest. And I'm like the classic. I like the classic look.
Okay.
I also really like a nice, well cut pair of jeans.
Ah, yes.
That's a pretty great look for me. But I love the boots. It's all about the boots.
Isn't that a song by Meg Trainor or something?
I think it's something else.
Oh, I think that needs to be a filk. It's all about the boots. About the boots.
Wouldn't that be great?
Full leather. Yeah.
Be great for a burlesque.
Yeah, it would be.
Yep.
So fair enough. The reason I brought it up is because there's a lot of and actually Alt Bronte just tweeted about this shortly before our podcast about what can masculine bodied rope bottoms wear that actually looks good and things like that. And and it is a kind of a dilemma. The style of things to wear is a little bit more curtailed, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if you try and wear something like it used to be you could wear a kimono or something like that, but now people tend to talk about, well, are you appropriating or or...
I have a story about
yes, please.
Well, once upon a time I had a play date with somebody who, if he listens to this, will blush appealingly, who was masculine bodied and I was topping. And I was meeting him later on in the evening and he was off doing something else. And so we had a date, and this was at my Beltane event. And I had called the golf cart to carry my rope bag and stuff up to the play space and gotten on the cart, and it was a new staffer who knew that I was the organizer of the event, but didn't really know anything else about me. And I get on the cart, and she says to me, because my staff is sort of trained to keep an eye out for unusual things. We don't need a security team at our event because it's not very big. It's lovely that way. We have a safety team, of course, but we don't have like cops running around our event or whatever.
Gotcha.
But she said to me, I just wanted to tell you that when I was on my way down here, this guy ran across the road in an orange prison jumpsuit. And I said, he did? And she said, yeah. Do you know him? And I said, know him? He's my date. It's fantastic. One of my favorite stories. So yeah, orange prison jumpsuits are nice.
Okay, well there we go.
Is that appropriating? I don't think so.
Well, there's a T-shirt or a TV show.
Right.
Orange is the new leather, maybe, I don't know. That reminds me of the one time that we were hanging out at my one chance that I got to actually rig for kink.com. Lokai was setting me up with one of their ubiquitous jumpsuits that the male riggers tend to wear.
Yes.
And apparently the only one they had with them was the one that they usually used for the gay sites. And it was one that not only had the zipper that went down the front, but it kept on going down underneath the crotch and up again around the back up to the waistband.
That's great.
and I remember when he handed it to me, I looked at him and I'm like, what did I sign on that contract again? I mean, I just want to know. I want to be prepared here.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that I'm aware of what's going to happen now.
So that is also something that I cover in the dominant body, and another aspect of it, which may make a nice segue into another thing that we need to talk about, is that I talk about the possibly lost among dominants art of apology. The way to do an apology and how to own up to when you fuck up, and do it in a way that does maintain your dominant personality, but at the same time isn't trying to put up this facade of perfection or invulnerability or infallibility. I was really glad to see another of your classes. I'm looking for what it is here. But it was something, well, you have The Gift of Imperfection by Sumise, which I suspect has a lot to do with it also. But there was another one in here that was something in vulnerability.
Trust and vulnerability.
Trust and vulnerability. And that is something that I think is so needed, because I think that at least a part of the ongoing problems that we have in the community about consent incidents are caused by the fear of admitting to a mistake, or of being able to be vulnerable to someone and trust that you can maintain your integrity even if you have something go wrong, at least on the top side.
Yeah.
Although I know there's also, especially among rope bottoms, a fear of being labeled as being too needy or too broken if they don't have if they have an injury or admit to injuries. That's getting a little bit better, I think. But I think the other side is not so much. How do you feel about? Do you think that it does contribute to some of the problems with the consent that are going on?
Absolutely. I think that it's a part and parcel of the culture that we're trying to leave behind in building a consent-based culture.
Huh.
I do. I think that the more you resist being vulnerable and being willing to say, yeah, me too, when somebody's talking about something uncomfortable, the more you put up walls to other people being willing to open to you, and if we continue to keep walls between us, see, this goes back to the woo thing and connection. If we continue to keep walls between us, then we don't have the opportunity to give each other the gift of trust. That person, Monsignor X, who's teaching the trust and vulnerability class, is a male submissive, and he's really great. He's very physically, he's quite strong, and he plays primarily with women, and it's really interesting to talk to him about the process in which he developed this way of dealing with his anger and his feeling that he had to, as a man, be all the traditional masculine things, strong and invulnerable.
Oh, great! I want to hear him, and now I want to get him into a room and talk along with Darren Infinity and Iron Temple Dog about toxic masculinity and fragile masculinity.
Yeah, I think you would really enjoy talking to him. He's fascinating.
Yeah, those are definitely things that are definitely contributing factors. But
the consent issue is huge right now. It's the most important issue in the world of event promoters right now.
Yeah, you said that earlier. Do you want to unpack that a little bit?
Sure. I think we're seeing in different regions of the country what happens when an event promoter chooses not to deal with an issue. I don't want to point fingers. It's not. Maybe they didn't know, but we really have to, as promoters, be very careful about who we invite to present at our events. We need to think about their history, and we need to, instead of just looking at their resume and saying, oh, cool, they taught at these places, we actually need to contact those places and ask them about their experiences with them and would they hire them again. And we need to approach every consent violation issue from a much more open and less shaming point of view. Do you understand what I'm saying about that? And what I mean by that is, it seems to me, I mean, the framework upon which we built our consent violation stuff for my organization is the NCSF guidelines for it and the Rashomon. Your Rashomon stuff. And the reason why Rashomon really appeals to me is because it starts with the notion that everyone's intent is pure.
Yeah. Until
proven
we can't. Yeah.
Yes.
We assume good intent until we can't.
Yeah, because I believe that that's generally speaking true.
Mm-hmm.
So I've lost my train of thought.
Do you talk about how the response around consent incidents is based around NCS guidelines and the Rashomon?
Yeah, what we're trying to do is to ensure that every person who has an issue like this feels heard,
mm-hmm.
and that not only do they feel heard, but that they feel that what's happened is that there's some action taken on it, that we work to investigate, and we work to investigate quickly and to respond to it. And I've heard of other event promoters continuing to hire presenters because it's a really big name, or they've been in the scene for a long time. And the truth is, there are a lot of really great presenters, and the vast majority of presenters are not problems for consent violation. The vast majority are good people,
Mm-hmm.
Who sometimes they make mistakes, and if they can apologize for them and own up to them and apologize in a way that can be heard, then we can continue to work together. But otherwise, our basic policy at Turtle Hill Events is if we have a significant consent violation with anybody, not just a presenter, but with anybody, then we will work to find out what the truth of the situation is, and we will err on the side of caution in the future. And that does mean that we will ban people that we believe are consent violation issues.
Okay. Can I ask you a relatively contentious question? And please don't take this as an attack, but it is okay. Simply a discussion point.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, let me emphasize, I run Ropecraft and I have a ban list. I have people who are banned from coming to Ropecraft. And some of them are from personal knowledge of their transgressions and feeling they're irredeemable. And there's also a few people who are actually banned in the area. I contacted local event groups and asked them if they had people that were known dangers, and they, that's how some of the names got on there. So I have a ban list, but I am not happy about having a ban list because if someone does a transgression at my event, and I'm like, this person is too dangerous to let back into my event, I am going to ban them from my event. All I'm really saying is the next person that gets violated by this dangerous person, I don't want to know about them. I want them to be at somebody else's event. Because my banning them, all that does is it just pushes them away to another event. It's not like, I'm ostracizing them and they'll never work in this town again. It's just my event. And I see that as a difficulty, because we see the same pattern over and over again. Somebody gets into some kind of situation, and not only they're banned from a munch, or they're banned from an event, or they're banned from a local group, and so what do? They start their own group, and worse than all is that they are now the edgy, dangerous group, which is awful sexy a lot of times. And so one of the things that I feel is needed, and I'm really hoping smarter brains than mine come up with it, is some kind of restorative justice kind of thing, some way for people that even if they've been so far as to be banned from an event, that they can still be a part of the community and have a way to not be completely, persona non grata, I guess.
And I think that has got to be part of the goal of trying to figure out this whole situation.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm glad to hear you hearing that.
Work in that direction, and furthermore, the rest of my thing about my ban list is that my ban list has one person on it. I'm going to say that again. My ban list has one person on it, and that person wasn't banned because of a consent violation. They were banned because of bad behavior at my event. Maybe I'm lucky. or maybe I've been able to develop a community that self-polices pretty well, or maybe people aren't telling me what's happening at my events.
That's a scary thought, isn't it?
Now that's my ban list. That's the people that are not allowed to come to my event anymore, any of my events anymore. And I don't think the person would want to come back, frankly. but I have another list, which is the list of presenters that I won't have present for me.
Ah.
And that list is lengthier.
Okay.
And I think that that kind of a list is the kind of thing that that's actually a more comfortable place for me to be, because I actually kind of would rather that people, I don't know if I want to say this. Okay, here's what I'm going to say.
All right.
I'm going to say that isn't it better for us to keep an eye on the people who are consent violators?
I am touching my nose and pointing at you right now. I'm like, yes, that's exactly it.
Send them off to somebody else's sandbox and let them deal with them.
Right.
And
especially since most of the time when you do call up somebody or ask them about it, they're like, well, I don't want to say anything bad because, and maybe it's I don't want to say anything bad because I don't want to be accused of rumor mongering, or maybe it's I don't want to say anything bad because I don't want to be sued for libel. I mean, it could be any number of things.
Yeah.
There has to be a presumption of trust among the event producers who are talking to each other about this, and that gets difficult because, again, if you're talking about presenters, you're talking about people who are oftentimes friends with them.
Yes.
And that's so. And I'll throw this question at you.
Yep.
Well, you were going to say something. Go ahead.
I was going to say that it is my dream that those of us who are event promoters might actually join together in some kind of community kind of a way and share information with each other.
Yeah. It's
we don't have to compete. I mean, I know there's only so many event dollars out there, but we're all doing different things.
I'm honestly, and I'm my producer, Grandmaster David, and I both feel very strongly that there's not a limited number of kink dollars out there. That there is maybe a limited number of people who currently know they're kinky, but new people are finding out they're kinky every day.
Yeah.
And so it's a constantly growing situation.
Yep.
Which is why there's so many events now. I mean, isn't it fun trying to find a weekend to do your event?
No, it's terrible.
I mean, I basically try and find a weekend when I can do my event that is either across from an event that is much bigger than mine, so I don't feel like I'm, doing something else, or else, it's like with a GRU, or else try and find one, like it's going on across the country or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Because, it's really, really difficult to try and find it. And that would not be the case if people weren't going to these events.
That's right.
So, so the hard question I have for you, and it's again, it's among the things that are going on right now, and in terms of right now, for those who are listening to this in the years in the future, right now being the late summer of 2016, a lot of people are having to deal with the fact that people who are their friends and who are the leaders and the people they looked up to have either inadvertently or advertently done some consent incident and consent violations. And the question becomes, how do you both be a supportive friend but still call people on their shit, on this stuff? I mean, it's how what do you do when you find out that your friend who's been presenting at your event forever and ever has done something transgressive, and you need to, by your own principles, have some kind of repercussions for that? How do you? What is the way that you can both, maintain not maintain is the right word. How can you be both compassionate and also honorable, I guess the way they put it? And I'm asking you because you said something earlier about how the discussion needs to be open and not shaming.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to know what that looks like for you.
It's a good question, and I actually just had to deal with it. I had a presenter who I had to remove from my presenter list for Crossroads and change a number of things about how the event was going to be because of an issue that the presenter had at another event. And the presenter, to give him his props, he contacted me himself. And he told me that he'd had an issue and that it would be wise of me to withdraw from having him at my event. And it was a very difficult conversation. But we have the kind of friendship where he knew that I would listen to him, and that I would understand, and that I would not shame him. And I think it's got to be practice. The way that you deal with people has to be that way, so that they see the way that you deal with other people, and they know. But with this person, what I did was to remove his programming. This is not a consent violator. This is something else. It's another bad issue in our region, something that happened in our region. And I did not ban him from my event. Instead, I told him that I could not have him present, but that I understood that he needed his community around him. And if he wanted to come to the event, I would make it happen.
Gotcha. So
And-
and his response to that was, it was good?
His response to that was, "Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I don't know if I can come. I don't know how I feel about the rest of the community and whether I can be with them."
Yeah, well, that's understandable. That I was a little worried, and not worried isn't the right word. I was frustrated because one of the reasons why I've been changing my vocabulary around calling it consent incidents rather than consent violations.
Yeah.
And it has to do with training that I'm getting in nonviolent communication, and it has to do with the idea of not prejudging things. And it was frustrating because there was a thread on FetLife in one of these discussions where people were saying, "Why are we calling them consent violations? Call them what they are. It's rape.
Yeah,
It's sexual assault. It's and I mean, I didn't want to get into a flame war, but I'm just shaking my head and going, except when it's not. You know, it's not always as simple as that. I wish it was that simple. I wish it was that black and white, but
Yeah.
it's not always that simple. And when it's not that simple, you don't want to use those words.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the difficulty. I also am trying to find a way to be able to have these kinds of discussions in a way that people feel safe enough to talk about it, but not talk about it openly, but also will be able to talk about things that could potentially be damaging. I mean, I don't know if you listen to the Ropecast normally, but I had a guest from Alcoholics Anonymous to talk about how they run their meetings in a way that, you know, somebody can talk about things that might get them fired, might get them arrested, but they have an assurance of anonymity and safety so they can actually explore them. I feel like that kind of space is needed, but I don't know how to make it.
And I think it's a difficult situation. I mean, this is one of the reasons why the discussion of vulnerability, why the discussion of what it means to be male in the scene, or submissive or dominant, or female in the scene, or trans in the scene. And these are all questions of identity that are difficult, and people, they're hot buttons. People get very passionate about them. So I just think it's a question of allowing space for it over and over and over, and you know, limiting the length of time maybe so that it can't be. And that's just one way to limit the depth to which the conversation can go, you know?
Yeah.
So that, you know.
And that's another issue is the fact that one of the problems with the internet is that it makes the memory of something go on forever.
Yes.
So somebody could have committed a consent violation, you know, when they were just a petite domlet, and then, you know,
They carry that with them
15
forever.
15 years later, they're talking to someone and they say, "Well, wait a minute, you were involved in such and such." And it's like, "Well, yes, that was a terrible thing," and I, you know, that the question of how to deal with that and how to deal with the well-meaning. I mean, I'm all about, obviously all about community policing itself and things like that, but just at a certain point that becomes mob rule as opposed to community care, I guess.
Yeah. Well,
So,
the most effective group dynamic is a facilitated consensus, not a pure consensus, but a facilitated one. And
where's that from?
I took a sociology class in college about small group communications, and that was at least that was the wisdom at that time. And it's a completely different way of making decisions than many other groups might. I mean, I know many consensus-based groups, and I know many hierarchical groups. And a facilitated consensus is different from both of those things. It's somebody driving the bus, and saying, we have to get to New York City. What highway should we take? 30 voices speak up, and then the facilitator says, I think I hear that the best route is Route 95, and it goes that way, and there's a lot of back and forth. And I think that back and forth, the communication back and forth, because a lot of times communication can be one way, for example, in consent incidents. I like that term. That's very good. In consent incidents, the incident is reported. So that's one direction. Then there needs to be a response. Okay, I hear that you had this incident. Let's talk about that.
Right.
And you hear what they have to say, and then you say back to them whatever it is that seems to be the appropriate way to respond, and go around, and go back and forth. And it's just communication, I mean, that's the worst thing in groups and politics, is that we don't communicate well, and the internet has made it worse because people don't want to pick up the phone and talk to each other. And you can't get tone of voice, and people don't want to get together because we can just email. We don't need to have a meeting.
Email? Who emails anymore? Come on, we're going to Snapchat.
That's right. In fact, I think I'll tweet. I'll just tweet. And you can't get the vast majority of the communication that you need. Yeah. So, like in issues that we've had at our events, we had a domestic violence incident at one of our events, and we were able to deal with it at the event, which was it's the ideal way to deal with a problem, is to say, okay, it just happened. Now what are we going to do? And to be face to face with the people. And it was an extremely successful intervention for us, in which we identified the core problems that were going on, what was happening, and then we were able to give advice to the people and do what they wanted us to do. Did the woman it was a husband and wife, did the woman want us to call the police? No. Did she want to go to the hospital? She wasn't badly injured. Did she want to go to the hospital? If she was badly injured, we would take her to the hospital. But we gave her choice, and we allowed them to come to some decision, and then were there when they came back together for the first time, so that we could be sure that she would be safe. And they're fine. And the long story short is that they went home together, quit doing the addictive things that they were doing, and strengthened their marriage, and they're still together. So it was a happy ending.
That was a good ending.
And they've been back to our event since. It's not something that we would ban somebody for.
Cool.
You have to be pretty awful to get banned from one of our events, but consent violation would do it.
One of the difficulties we ran into with the Rashomon at Ropecraft was that we didn't do a good enough job of letting both the attendees and the other parts of staff, security especially, know about the full range of skills that the Rashomon had and how they could help out. So as a result, when the situation happened, they were a little late to respond because they hadn't been involved in the beginning of it. How are you letting your attendees and your staff know about these policies?
I'm glad you asked me that. First of all, I'm getting ready to update the website to have it on there so that it'll be more easily accessible. We're just finishing up the wording and making sure that we're happy with it.
Gotcha.
The second way that we're going to go about it is we're going to start doing a class at our event on the first day. And it'll be a class that I'll run. It's not really a class so much as sort of an orientation session.
Okay.
And at that session, I'll be telling the people come to it about that part of our organization and how they can take advantage of that, and asking them to disseminate the information to people who didn't come to the thing. And it'll be during a time period when nothing else is going on. So if anybody wants to come and hear about it, they can. And it won't just be about that particular part of our event. It'll be about our event as a whole, and the rules, and some maybe things that are incorrect in the schedule and that kind of stuff. But it'll also include a segment on what to do if you get into trouble. If something happens and you need to talk to someone.
Cool.
How to go about that, and also how to get help if you're in our play space and you need help. How to get that.
Excellent.
I mean, it's pretty. We're pretty basic nuts and bolts. If you yell red, we'll come running.
Gotcha.
Even if you say red in a forceful voice, we'll come check it out and see what's going on.
Well, I am definitely looking forward to it. We were talking about a lot of heavy stuff, and it doesn't come down to the fact that I am just really, honestly, the things that are going to go on there, the things like hypnosis for fear place is a pretty interesting one.
Yeah, I've never had at an event before. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. And sadistic massage, it's good for you. That's definitely, I think Naya should be my bottom for taking that class. That'd be fun.
I really love Aya. I definitely think you should take that.
No, I was saying Naya. Aya's taking it.
Aya,
Okay,
Aya,
yeah. I was going to say, I'm not going to have Aya bottom for you for that class, because I don't know, no. Especially, if I tried to be sadistic to Aya, she would just laugh at me, because,
she probably would.
coming at Percy. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Do you mind? I'm going to say the website one more time, which is turtlehillevents.org/crossroads.
Or you can put in crossroadsgathering.com.
Crossroadsgathering.com, yes. And we'll be tweeting the heck out of that and things like that in time to come as people follow.
Oh, and I want to offer something to your listeners.
Oh, really? We like that.
Yeah, I have a coupon code that's good for the full event of the full length of the event, so Thursday arrival. It's $75 off.
Wow.
Of the registration fee, and the code is ROPECAST, all small letters.
All right. Wow, that's fantastic.
So they put that, if you go in the registration system, there's a place at the top that says, "Do you have a special registration code?" You leave that no. And then you put it in the bottom. At the bottom of the screen, there's a box for the coupon code. That's where that goes.
So this makes sure that they have to listen to this podcast to get that right. So
that's right.
Excellent.
And then if they come, then I'll tell them the story of 2 watermelons and a tar. Happily.
Excellent.
And maybe even some other rope camp stories, because that was a great event.
Maybe that should be a part of the Thursday welcome flyer will be memories of rope camp.
Absolutely. And this event's going to be great too. I'm really looking forward to it. Think of it as a find your own adventure kind of an event. It doesn't have any big group rituals. There are rituals. None of them are called the opening ritual, main ritual, or closing ritual, like at Beltane, which is more of a woo event and less of a kink event. Instead, you can choose to go to whatever interests you.
Awesome. Yeah, I noticed you also have the draft of the schedule grid on the website, so people can go and see and even start planning for their things. So
yeah, and that's live updating as we're changing it.
Excellent.
So it will continue to be accurate.
All right. Well, I will probably have you stick a microphone in your face again when we get to the event. But in the meantime, I appreciate you coming on and talking about it.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay.
All right. I hope you take advantage of that discount code. I remember it's a little complicated there, so make sure you listen to those instructions again. And thank you very much, Kat, for taking us here. And we'd like to give a special thank you to our sponsors, the karmarope.com folks who are busy filling people's pockets with rope because they paid what they could, and also Twisted Monk, who has got some fantastic new gear that I hope you take advantage of. Remember, you can get a hold of my sketch notes, which are going to be lots of stuff out there at patreon.com/ropecast. And I will be back shortly with more stuff while we are on the road. If I'm going to see you at summer camp, please come by and say hi. Love to see you. I have a little bit of Ropecraft swag if you're interested. And, well, I just always enjoy hearing things from the people who listen to the podcast. And thanks again to Rope Lab for bringing us out. Can't wait to do it again. In the meantime, this is Great Answer signing off. That's some good rope.